Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Owen, Director of Public Policy of the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber hosts candidate forums for local and statewide races, and we hope you were able to enjoy the school board candidate forum last night. And if you've missed it, you can watch on a rebroadcast on Midco Channel 20, or it's also available on the school district's YouTube channel. The Greater Sioux Falls Chamber believes an informed and engaged population is key to our community's success. Tonight's event is sponsored by the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber and the League of Women Voters. We extend a big thank you to the City Council and to the City Clerk, Tom Greco, for making this building available for the forum. We also want to remind everybody about Election Day, which is Tuesday, June 2nd, but voters are also encouraged to vote by absentee mail. If you are interested in voting in absentee mail, please go to sdsos.gov and you can find a ballot application. Remember that you must submit an original signed application along with a copy of a photo ID or a notarized signature to your county auditor as soon as possible. And thank you. Tonight is our City Council at-large forum, and Brooke Ballard, pardon me, Brooke, is a moderator for our at-large candidate forum tonight. Brooke is a member of the League of Women Voters and has volunteered to serve as our moderator. But note, she's a veteran, as she has also served as our moderator for our legislative coffees earlier this spring. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you, Deborah. Welcome to the 2020 City Council Forum hosted by the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters. As Deborah mentioned, I am Brooke Ballard, and I'm representing the League of Women Voters of Sioux Falls, and I'll be your moderator this evening. We are very happy to have all of you, and especially you running in very contested races throughout the city. While we just had the Northwestern District candidates, we're going to be moving on now to the at-large seat. Each section will have about approximately 45 minutes. The section format will be exactly as our last section. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for their opening statement. Then we'll move on to the questions, and candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. Rebuttal opportunities will be given at the discretion of myself. Candidates, you will be given an opportunity to respond to each question, and I will rotate which candidate is first to respond to a question. At the end of our forum tonight, each candidate will have an additional 3 minutes for a closing statement to comment further on issues brought up or to comment on a topic that wasn't covered in the questions. Candidates' timer, our timer is located in front of you at the middle. He will be letting you know when you have 30 seconds left with a sheet of paper and when your time is up. We will start introductions with Alex Jensen.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank the Chamber and the League of Women's Voters for this forum tonight. I think the work that both organizations do here in the community and larger is really important. Again, I'm Alex Jensen. I was born, raised, and educated here in Sioux Falls. My parents still live here, work here, and are planning to retire here. Sioux Falls is really important to me. I've started my career here, and now I'm blessed with a wonderful wife, Nikki, and she's home right now putting our son, Jack, to bed. He's 7 months old and teething, so he's having quite the time right now. You know, I've represented Sioux Falls in the state legislature, where we did a lot of really good work while I was there. We had a plan for roads and bridges throughout the state. It was a comprehensive plan that took years to have happen. Senator out of Mitchell was the one who led that. That was Mike Valley. And we came together and supported that. And there were tough conversations, and we worked through those conversations. We were able to succeed in relieving property taxes by the tune of $40 million while I was in the state legislature, which I'm very proud of because we were able to help the citizens of Sioux Falls and South Dakota at large. And we made the appropriations process completely transparent. We opened up each budget to the people of South Dakota, and that's exactly what I intend to do when I'm on the city council, is open up the budget process so that we can make certain that we are utilizing each dollar effectively, because that's what the taxpayers deserve. You know, I'm the member right now of the Board of Barber Examiners for the state of South Dakota, making sure that everyone is safe when they, go into a barber shop. I serve on the board of Southeastern Behavioral, where we focus a lot of effort on mental health and helping people that have and need treatment options. And I'm really proud of our work in that organization, because it's what Sioux Falls needs. I serve as an ambassador for Junior Achievement, and I think Junior Achievement and the mentorship that happens through there is absolutely critical. I do all of that as we continue to work here in Sioux Falls, as we continue to raise a family here in Sioux Falls. Finally, I'm a confirmation leader at my church and a youth group leader, and was the chair of the Adult Discipleship Committee for years at First Lutheran Church here in town. Finally, as a father, there's nothing more important to me than making Sioux Falls strong and safe for the families who live here. I have the experience, I have the ability, and I have the temperament to immediately improve the city council and make Sioux Falls a strong and safe place for the families that live here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. We'll now move to Theresa Stehly. You will have also 3 minutes.
Well, thank you, and I also want to thank the Chamber and the League of Women Voters. I've appreciate this opportunity to talk to our constituents. I'm Councilor Theresa Stehly. I've served as a city councilor for the last 4 years for your at-large position. Before we get going, I'm going to ask the audience to get out a paper and pen and take notes during this debate, an important debate. I'm also going to ask you to go to my website, theresastehly.com, if you'd like to view previous debates between my opponent and myself. I've also got the polling locations on there and other pertinent campaign information, so theresastehly.com. I've been blessed to have a rich history in music education. That's what my degree was in. I've also, I'm a driver's ed instructor as well. Over the last 40 years, I've taught many piano students at ages from 5 years old to 82 years old. So I've got the history and the experience of working with a wide variety of people, different ages, different abilities. I've also had 30 years as a church choir director. I've started 2 church choirs in our community, Holy Spirit Catholic Church and St. Therese Church. I work well with people, and I'm a good leader in those experiences. I just finished my 15th year as a voice instructor at the University of Sioux Falls. I am passionate about helping people enjoy music, but I'm also passionate about helping the citizens experience good government. As a citizen activist for the last 14 years, I've been involved with engaging people to help them maneuver through city processes. I led the petition drive in 2012 to bring snow gates to our community. Over 40 volunteers worked in that effort to collect over 8,400 signatures, and we brought that to a vote in 2014. That effort won by a landslide. And I got involved with that because that was something that was going to help everyone. As a city councilor, I have worked with Public Works to ensure that people are getting that service provided to them. I helped with a boulevard gardening ordinance. I'm a huge gardener, and lots of flowers, and I was inspired by the McKinnon Park boulevards, and we passed the boulevard gardening ordinance. I'm also a neighborhood watch captain. I started this is a flyer that I pass around. I started my neighborhood watch in my neighborhood about 23 years ago when we were having a crime issue. And so I have worked as a council member to encourage people to form those groups and to support the ones that are existing already. The police department is so supportive of this effort. So I'm about helping people come into the process and making city government user-friendly for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Theresa. We'll now move to our questions. Remember, each of you will have 90 seconds for your answer. The first question, what district leadership strength would you bring to City Hall if elected to the council? Alex, you are first.
Yeah, the leadership strengths that I would bring is I am a proven leader. I have the ability to bring people together and have difficult conversations. Sometimes we find that the difference of opinion is too far away and we agree to disagree, but we are not disagreeable in doing so. We worked so hard in the state legislature to increase our teachers' pay, and I will take those same principles that I learned in the legislature and use them on our city council. I'll use them to bring people together, bring taxpayers to the council, look at the budget, and really effectively use those dollars as we move forward. I think another leadership strength that I have is the ability to take complex problems and break them down and make them simple so that everyone understands them and that we can work together on a common understanding. So I think those are some of the leadership strengths that I will bring to the city council.
Thank you. Theresa?
Would you repeat that question, please?
Yes. What district leadership strengths would you bring to City Hall if you are reelected to the council?
Well, I'm already on the council, and so for 4 years I have been working to bring citizen representation into the process. I have been reaching out to hear the side of the citizens. Oftentimes in city government, we're so surrounded by city staff and developers that we don't really hear from the people outside of that circle. So I have made it a concerted effort to go out and do site visits, responding to emails, reaching out. I send out a Stehly report to help people stay engaged and to help them stay informed about what's happening, so that they don't have to find out about an issue after we voted on it. We do it better in government when we hear from the people. I work to protect public input when there was an effort being made to put that to the back of the meeting. I brought citizens in and said, help us to hear from you so that we will make a better decision. I've also made an effort to, when I hear about a community concern, I try to bring people together with city staff. Was that the end one, or that's the... Okay, 30. So I tried to bring people together with our city staff. Whittier neighborhood is a good example. I brought them in, all the business owners who were concerned about environmental problems there, and we met with city staff to find solutions. I'm about solution solving for all the people, but we've got to be listening to them, and we've got to be in their midst in order to hear what the problems are to start with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next question, as the policy-making body for the City of Sioux Falls, what key initiatives would you bring as a council member? Theresa, you're first.
Well, and I actually have brought initiatives. We had in this past year, we tried to pass an ordinance that would limit the amount of cell phone usage during meetings, so that we put the cell phones down, we wouldn't be texting and having dialogue with people outside the meetings during the meeting itself. As I've talked with business owners, they say, yeah, during our board meetings, we would never allow our members to be texting and having dialogue that way. So that's something I want to continue to work on. We brought forth a boulevard, we did the boulevard thing. We've been working with the community to build on the boulevard gardening. We brought a beekeeping ordinance that is going to expand upon that. We've also brought back the neighborhood summit. I worked with the mayor on that to bring all these different groups together. I hear the concerns from the public, and then I bring them to the table. I brought the Skateboard Association to an informational. I brought Zach DeBoer in. He was going to talk to us about how he's studied the flow of traffic downtown. I've had meetings with countless amounts of people, small business owners, just constituents who have concerns. So that's the kind of energy that we need to have. We need to be listening and responding at all times. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The next question, how will you collaborate with the mayor, city administration, and other key community organizations to address the important community concerns such as workforce development? Alex, you are first.
Okay, I'll take this one on, and I'll talk about my initiatives maybe in the last 3 minutes.
Oh.
But how I'm going to work with the mayor and the other counselors is I'm going to focus on collaboration. We're going to work together. I think it's absolutely critical to do that. I have a proven track record of doing that in the legislature and every day as my job as a small business banker here in Sioux Falls. I think that it's absolutely critical for us to help with the Sioux 52 mentorship project. I mean, mentorship is so very important. I know that a lot of people believe that, and we're acting to make that happen. We do it in junior achievement every single year, and I wish we could have gotten into the schools late in the year this year, but we couldn't due to COVID. So mentorship is absolutely huge. I think that what we need to do for workforce is we need to look at how we can partner better with Southeast Tech and how we can get our workforce built up. Because if we do that, that's going to help a lot of things. We're going to have people working, they're going to have great jobs, and we're going to be helping with our affordable housing issue. If we do that and we do it effectively, a lot of the problems that come from unemployment or other things such as that, unaffordable housing, those problems are going to go by the wayside. So I will promise to always work for that and work with all of the counselors and our mayor and our state and our county to make certain that we move this city forward for the families that live here.
Thank you. So thank you for my little mishap. If you would like to have, we still have time, correct, for him to start the next question, which was on the workforce development, but he didn't get a chance to respond to the key initiatives, correct? Because of my...
Yep, and that's okay.
So
yeah.
you may address the question of how you would collaborate in terms of workforce development and add in there your key initiatives you're willing to bring.
Yeah, my key initiatives and my priorities come first with public safety. When we went into 2020 this year, I was talking to the police chief. We were down 20 police officers. That's unacceptable to me. And I'm always going to make it an initiative so that we have the best resources and the best training facilities to make certain that we have law enforcement officers in our city. Because one of the biggest problems we have in the city is crime and narcotics. It's absolutely critical that we have to nip that in the bud right away. And we're going to do that by supporting and making a priority our police force. The second thing that I'm going to work on is the budget. With a reduced sales tax that we're going to have in the months coming up out of this COVID crisis, we will have to have budget integrity. We can't spend money on frivolous things. We just can't do it. We're not going to be able to do it. So we have to bring in the public. We have to work together as a team. And we have to have the tough conversations and maybe say no to each other. But again, when we are saying no to each other, we don't have to be disagreeable when we're doing that. So I'm really excited for those two initiatives. And that's where I'm going to start. That's going to be the baseline. And then we're going to grow from there. We're going to make Sioux Falls an exceptional place to raise a family and to be here because it's safe and it's strong and for the people that live here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Teresa, I'll repeat the question.
It sounded like there were two questions in there.
There wasn't two questions. It was he never got a chance. I had moved on to the next question without allowing him the chance to discuss the key initiatives, which was the previous question. So the third question, how will you contribute with the mayor, city administration, and other key community organizations to address important community concerns such as workforce development?
And I think I'm hearing you say how you communicate with the mayor as well. I'm just going to talk a little bit about communication, because what I appreciate in the discussions I've had in the past with my fellow colleagues and the mayor is when we come together and we have a willingness to listen to both sides. Case in point, I just brought a resolution this last week that was addressing rental concerns with tenant concerns and evictions. And I reached out to every single one of my colleagues and wanted to have a discussion with them. Unfortunately, several of them didn't even get back to me until the meeting. Now, that's the kind of thing we don't want to do to constituents, and we don't want to do to each other as well. With the times when I've had my colleagues and the mayor reach back and say, you know, let's have a discussion about this. Let's work this out and vet out different ideas. That's communication. That's what we need to be doing with each other. We need to be doing that with our constituents as well. So I am a good communicator. I have reached out to business owners. We've certainly had the VOTEC in. We've given them money as far as helping to get a workforce going. But again, I think being open and responsive and willing to listen is really key in any group that we're going to work with.
Thank you. All right. The next question. Being a city councilor requires nearly consistent decision-making and consensus building. Tell us about a time in your professional or political life that you had to make a difficult decision and how you built consensus around it. Theresa, you will begin.
I'm going to start with that parking ramp, Village on the River. That came out of the gate. I had great concerns about that. And I just reported on it on my last Stehly report, that I had concerns about the second penny being attached to that thing. I had concerns about the investors being secret. I had concerns about an overpriced cost to this. I tried to talk to my colleagues about it. Councilor Pat Starr and I tried to put the brakes on this thing after hearing immense testimony from our public that they had concerns with this. And this is a case where, I'm not going to go along to get along. If it's the wrong thing, and I cannot twist my colleagues' arms to make them, see that this is going down the wrong path. The public even came on board, but they pressed forward. And we ended up with a very difficult situation. We've got to learn from that, and I think we need to be adding more scrutiny to everything we have. One thing where we did collaborate was that public input issue, because as soon as our mayor got elected, they were trying to take the public input, which is so valuable for us to hear from the people, and put it to the back of the meeting. And once again, I called upon the public to come forth, let the council know this isn't where we want to go. And they did. We had backroom one-on-one conversations, and we worked it out, and we came up with a compromise. And that's the way it should be. But just to say we're going to go along for the sake of keeping everything smooth, I don't think the public wants that. I don't think that's good democracy.
Thank you very much. Alex?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I agree. Backroom dealings are definitely something we don't want to do, because we want to have our process in front of the people and the people participating in the process. It's the greatest process in the world, and I'm really thankful for that. But talking about consensus building, I think one of the biggest things that we did, and it is all around workforce, is when I was in the legislature, Mark Mickelson, a representative from District 13, brought forth an initiative to help with tech school funding. And how we did that is we gave them the ability, it was a permissive law, to take them and kind of change the way that they were funded. We worked really, really hard with the Board of Regents and all of the stakeholders, namely Sioux Falls, VOTEC, and all of the different stakeholders in that. And what we were able to do is we were able to make workforce a priority. and education of that workforce a priority. And we had to work together. And there were disagreements and there were concessions, but we did it in public. We wanted to do it in public because that's where you had to do it, and it took years to accomplish. But once we got it done, it has really enhanced the way that our tech schools operate in South Dakota, and specifically here in Sioux Falls at Southeast Votech. So that's something that I'm really proud of, and that's something that is so critical, is the ability to build consensus around an idea.
Thank you very much. Our next question. Accessible housing continues to be an issue that our community faces. Tell us what specific initiative or initiatives you will implement to make owning or renting a home more obtainable for hardworking citizens of Sioux Falls. In addition, what do you understand to be the role of government in creating accessible housing? Alex, you will begin.
Thanks for the question. Look, there's nothing that excites me more about housing. I, for 5 years, was a real estate agent here in Sioux Falls and helped people get into homes every single day. I was on the Home Building Association on the Education Committee. I was the vice chair of that turned into the workforce housing. I think that as a city initiative, what we need to do is we need to come alongside our private industries like the home builders and say, hey, how can we help as a city? Because it's the private organizations that are really going to tell us as a city how we need to help them. And we'll have to make tough decisions to say, can we do that at the time? Or, hey, not right now, but maybe in the future we can help you with that. But we can always be an open ear to talk with business owners like that, to talk with citizens and help them understand the home buying process, because it is a process. You have to understand every part about it to be a really good, effective homeowner. So I think as we move forward, if we work with those organizations like the home builders, like the Realtors Association of the Sioux Empire, we're really going to be a lot better off than just not listening to anyone and doing our own thing.
Thank you very much. Theresa.
When I ran in 2016, one of my tenets was affordable living in our community. We talk about housing and being able to buy a house. I mean, it's getting to the point you just can't get at it for a lot of people. I live over by McKinnon Hospital, and one of the votes that happened this last 4 years had to do with the rezoning in that McKinnon Hospital area. Having lived over there, and I know people who live near Sanford have had the same experience, we have watched whole neighborhoods just disappear in this price range of anywhere from $120,000 to $200,000. Those houses are gone. Now, there was an effort a while back to take those homes and move them north of town, north of the penitentiary, but it turned out that we have so many regulations in our town, it was cost prohibitive to move them. It was cheaper to try to build new. It just breaks my heart to see a lovely older home of character ripped down. So I stood against that rezoning over by the McKinnon Hospital area, and I know that, unfortunately, at the presentation, nuns who I love were a little bit upset with me for that vote. But I said, you know, and now they're building it, and it's right in the middle of this housing development. So I'm for affordable living. I think we need to do things to keep fees and taxes low. I've voted against all property tax increases by the way, we do that every year. You'll find that they always have a property tax increase. So whatever I can do to help moving forward, I will continue to make it affordable to have a home and affordable living. There you go.
Thank you very much. Our next question. COVID-19 has had an immense impact on our community, state, and nation. Though the effects of this pandemic are already being felt, our community will likely have to deal with this issue for months and potentially years to come. First, how do you think that the city has dealt with the issues so far? And secondly, in your opinion, how do you balance the concerns of the economy with public health? Theresa, you are first.
This has been the most intense time in the last 2 months that I've experienced in 4 years on the council. Emails, phone calls, I mean, people are so passionate about this, and we're all hurting. You know, moving forward, fiscal responsibility is going to be the top priority in the midst of this pandemic recovery. I have scrutinized the spending of this city for 4 years. I've asked the tough questions. I've tried to take action in the past when I found that there are things moving forward that don't make sense. And I've also tried to get a better warranties for our public when we're going out and bidding for things like the windows on the aquatic center, or we've got a geothermal system that failed on the new administration building. We had to replace that thing for $450,000. No one has yet stepped up to take that on. But anyway, those are some things we've dealt with. I've been right in the midst of that, protecting the taxpayer. We're going to have to do this moving forward. I have to say, you know, the mayor, I wouldn't want his job. He's been put through the fire, and he's having people biting at him on every side, and I really empathize with him. The council, we've been working together in a way of collaboration like never before. So we're going to continue to do that. I want the public to know I will have their best interests as I work 24/7 to represent the people.
Thank you. Alex?
Thank you. I think it's absolutely critical that the council, like my opponent said, works together during a pandemic. I'm glad the pandemic finally got them together, working together for the taxpayers. You look, city and state and country leaders made decisions on the fly with not great information, ever-changing and incomplete information. It still changes every single day. And I'm not going to sit here and Monday morning quarterback this deal. But what I know is that as we move forward and we move out of the COVID-19 crisis, we are going to have budget integrity. And we are going to have to be able to say no to some of the projects like Project Trim. That project, to get it started, would be $1 million to $2 million. We have to say no to it because we don't have the tax revenue to do that right now. And there are private companies that can handle that. Ongoing, that would be $600,000 to $800,000. We can't spend the money there right now. So we have to look for budget integrity, and we have to lead with what our priorities are. And for me, that's public safety. We can never have 20 officers short again in Sioux Falls. We have to build up our training facilities. We have to take care of that, number one. Number two, we have to look at the roads. If we don't go to our priorities, we will be in trouble, especially when we're using the taxpayers' dollars. I'm tired of empty promises from politicians, specifically out of D.C., because they do a lot with our money and we never see the reward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. At Tuesday's informational meeting, April's finance report was presented to City Council. March sales tax collections were down 2.6%. Entertainment tax collections were down 24.3%, and further reductions are forecasted. With the budget process scheduled to start in July, some tough decisions will likely have to be made. How do you plan on prioritizing the city's budget? Alex, you are first.
Thanks. Yeah, we have to prioritize. These questions kind of go together, so I really enjoy it. But I know that hospitality got hit really hard. Our hotels are hurting. They are hurting. It's never been like this before in the hospitality industry, period. Second, our small businesses, namely restaurants, our downtown restaurants and restaurants all over that I work with every single day as a small business banker, they're hurting. Luckily, the Congress and the President, signed into law the Paycheck Protection Program that helped some of these companies get along for 8 weeks. We're almost to June 3rd when that first 8 weeks is up. My hope is that we can move forward safely and really look at how we can get the sales tax back in the city of Sioux Falls. But at the end of it, we have to prioritize. And I'll always prioritize public safety. I'll always prioritize our roads, because if we don't do that, we won't have a safe and a strong economy here in Sioux Falls. And that's what we need to keep our families here, to keep our kids here, so that the grandkids, like, you know, baby Jack, can see his grandma and grandpa here in Sioux Falls, because that's what grandparents want, is they want their grandkids here. And we need a strong and we need a safe economy and a safe city to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Theresa?
Our finance director has said to me personally that he expects the month of June the numbers to be even more alarming than they have been. Just a fact for the public to know that the personnel budget of our city is $119 million a year. Half of that comes from the first penny, and half of it comes from the property tax payments. I asked at this meeting on Tuesday, I said, how do we know, how are we doing with those property tax collections? And we don't know yet. I'm going to predict that there are going to be some people who can't make that property tax. So when we're standing on that for the income to pay our employees, we could be in for some really rocky times. Everything is going to be on the table. Everything's going to be on the table. The last 2 years, I implemented the City Council budget working session, where we came together, and thanks to our Mayor Tanhagen, he has got some fabulously responsive employees. But Sean Pritchett comes in, our finance director. We talk as a council collaboratively about what we see as priorities. That is going to be so important moving forward, that we have people who have a proven track record of fiscal responsibility, as I have. And I'm not afraid to ask the questions. I'm not afraid to dig in and to stay the course, to do what's best for our constituents. So that's going to be the challenge. I'm up for it.
Thank you. Sioux Falls has certainly been hit between COVID and the tornado. And we keep plugging along. South Dakota, our next question. South Dakota provides a limited number of financial incentives to aid our efforts in encouraging business relocation and development in the greater Sioux Falls area. Do you support financial incentives such as the tax increment financing to incentivize local business relocation and the development efforts? Why? And further, do you have any ideas for additional financial incentives to help attract businesses? Theresa, you were first.
Talking about a TIF, and the TIF that got the most attention recently was the Cascades on North Phillips Avenue by the Lloyd Company, which I voted against that. I think that what we need to use as the gold standard with TIFs is we need to say, hey, would this project happen without a TIF? You know, because let's face it, when we give a TIF to a developer, they don't pay the property taxes on that new development for whatever period of time we give them. That's not just the coffers of the city, that's the coffers of the county and the coffers of the school district. Ironically, when all three entities are affected by that, it's up to the city council to pass it. I've wondered why the school district doesn't get to have a voice in that. But that's, nonetheless, TIFs were created to help blighted areas, to give them that little boost to take a risk on that. So I think you need to take TIFs case by case, just to have a blanket statement that we approve all of them. I won't go for that. And our previous mayor, Mike Huther, really kind of dug his heels in on TIFs as well. But more excitingly is we discovered in this last 2 years that there's something called a property tax abatement, and it's being applied to like small business areas, maybe some residential areas, apartments. That's exciting, especially now. We're going to need to find incentives to help everybody survive. And drive out on 41st Street off Cliff Avenue, you're going to see that pet store. They got a greenhouse, and they've got a little ice cream place, and they are taking a vacant parking lot and making something happen out of it. Wow, exciting.
Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, thanks for the question. TIFs, they're the most controversial thing that sometimes the city council deals with. But I have a proven track record at my place of employment of helping us work through and underwrite deals and making certain that those deals are the proper ones. And if we're going to use a TIF to go forward and make a project happen, there's no better person in the race right now to look at that and make sure that that deal is structured right, and to make sure that we are making the right decisions with those taxpayers' dollars and future revenue. We always have to make certain that it's the right deal for the right project. If it's the wrong deal, we say no, absolutely. And we teach them why we say no, and we try and provide opportunities in the future. Because if we do that and we use TIFs effectively, then we're going to be able to maintain our tax base as we have it today. And we won't have to increase taxes. We'll expand our tax base. And that's a big difference as we work forward. And as I work with small businesses, sometimes they need the TIF to do the project. But if it's the wrong project or it's structured the wrong way, we absolutely can't do it. And I'll always stand firm on that.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question. As a city councilor, many rezoning requests come before you for consideration. As our community grows, we have been blessed to have significant investments take place to increase our housing accessibility. Many times this investment comes in the form of apartment structures. In several situations over the past 4 years, we have seen considerable controversy from existing owner-occupied single-family neighborhoods with respect to the proposal of apartment structures, no matter what the height. How will you support housing development in these situations? Can you support the construction of apartment homes that are greater than 2 stories in height? Alex, you are first.
Well, thanks for the answer. You know, this is the industry that I grew up in. My dad was in real estate, and I've always followed it very closely. And I understand that when you go into a neighborhood, the neighborhoods have different concerns. So we have to work with those neighborhoods, and we have to work with the other city councilors and the planning and zoning board to make certain that it's the right project, the right fit for that area. If it can only be limited to 2 stories or less, that might be the wrong answer. But we have to be open to differences in how things and how we move forward as a city. Because if we're not nimble and we're not willing to make housing affordable in certain situations where we go up rather than out, I mean, that's tough for the roads, it's tough for the infrastructure, it's tough for everything. So we really have to look at how we can impact the city in the best way. And sometimes that might be building above two floors, but sometimes it might not be. So I think we have to be open and we have to be critical about the projects, and there's no one better right now to do that than me. We deal with these every single day at the bank, small businesses, we help them structure deals. That's what I'm built to do. I want to serve the citizens of Sioux Falls, and I think that this is one of the main ways that I can do that. I can help, and I want to help, so thank you.
Thank you. Theresa?
Well, of course, last 4 years, Brett in 85th, 6th and Bonson, Oscar Howe, and a bunch of other smaller projects. Yes, we've had these rezoning requests come up. A lot of them dealing with vacant lots, and homeowners around that area saying, "Hey, wait a minute! You know, when we built here, we were told this was going to be a low-density office complex. All of a sudden, we got a 3-story apartment going in their backyard." Yes, they are concerned. Yes, do I stand for residential integrity? Absolutely. I think there's a common sense approach to where we put huge apartment buildings. We don't just set them in somebody's backyard. So the thing that's been happening, and I think probably some of the developers who may be supporting my opponent don't like, is that some of us on the council have said, "Hey, wait a minute. You know, we're not just going to pass this through with at 100 miles an hour. We're listening to these citizens who are coming forth, these homeowners, and we're saying, let's find a compromise. Go back to the table and rework this thing until we can come a little bit closer to something that's palatable to both sides." And I will take that over at 6th and Bonson. Those neighbors really rallied, and that's right after I got elected, and I encouraged them to come to the meeting. They were kind of told, "Oh, don't show up till the last vote." Wrong. They need to be heard right at the very beginning of the conversation. They came, they pushed it aside a little bit. They had to work on it. The road is now being straightened out at Bonson. So it does pay off for them to be able to have their voices heard.
Thank you. We'll now conclude this evening's forum with our final question. What would you like this audience to remember about you tonight as they prepare to vote on June 2nd? Theresa?
This is almost like a closing statement, but it's not. I get to say one more thing. But what I want to say is I've been working very hard these last 4 years to continue the effort and the energy that I showed as a citizen. That the effort of including people. And Deborah Owen, I hope you don't mind, but Deborah Owen was our city clerk when I first got involved in 2006 with a petition drive for Drake Springs. And to facilitate, you did a beautiful job of facilitating us being part of government. This government belongs to the people. We've got to continue to reach out and listen to them. I bring a perspective here of the average citizen. I have no business interests clinging to me. I'm me alone. I'm me. Nobody owns me but me. Me and God are doing this. And I love the people of this town. I have spent the whole 4 years reaching out and caring for people, trying to respond to everybody who reaches out to me. And I believe I've helped a heck of a lot of people, and I want to continue to do that for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex?
Thanks. Yeah, I want people to remember, something about me, that I have budget integrity. I always have. Every day I work with small businesses, mom and pop businesses, maybe 1, 2 owners. Every single day we work and we challenge them to work harder or to make cuts or to invest in different ways. And they challenge us to help them through difficult times like the Paycheck Protection Program. This COVID-19 thing is real serious. And if we don't have someone on the council that has the budget experience to say no to people when they otherwise might say yes, we have a real problem. And we have to do that by building relationships and really working together. And that sometimes is the tough part. What I'll tell you is every night I go home and the one priority I have is my family. Nikki is my first priority and Jack is right there with her. And what we focus on is we focus on our budget. And there's no room for grandstanding at the budget table when you're talking over your dinner. And what I will always promise to do is I will always promise to be respectful, I'll be trustworthy, and I'll always work for the people. Because that's what I do every single day. I work for small businesses, and I will do that here in this chamber.
Thank you. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions. I know this has been a change in format, and I appreciate everyone's cooperation due to COVID. We'll be moving to our closing statements. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to comment further on issues that were brought up or to comment on a topic that was not covered in the questions. We'll start closing statements in the reverse order of the opening statements. Theresa, you have 3 minutes.
Well, thank you, and thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to serve as your at-large city council member these past 4 years. Now more than ever, we're going to need some fiscal wisdom as we work to recover from this pandemic. And I have always worked to put the citizens' best interests forward. And I've worked to protect the taxpayers at every meeting as I've listened to the information. As these issues have come up, I've scrutinized, I've thought it through, I've sought out the input from citizens to make the best decisions possible. We have been running an exciting, people-oriented grassroots campaign these last 2.5 months. We don't have a lot of money, we don't have TV ads, but I'm going to tell you what, we got a heck of a lot of love. I have been overwhelmed by the support and caring that I've received from so many people and the appreciation for the work that I have done to reach out and be an advocate and sensitive elected official. We're here to serve. We are not here to be served. We are here to be humble servants of the people. I need your help, constituents. I'm running this grassroots campaign, and if you want to keep a place at the council, the place that I've represented for the average citizen, that I'm going to need you to go out and encourage your friends and relatives to vote. Right now, you can vote at the election center. You can early vote 220 West 6th. I've got it memorized, 220 West 6th. And you can go 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and vote in person. I would hesitate. I'm going to tell you, if you haven't got that ballot mailed in yet, forget it. Because that election is going to be in about 12 days, and it may get caught in the mail. I've heard reports that it's at least a 10-day turnaround just one way. So I say, be careful on that. Otherwise, mark that calendar for June 1st. The polling places are changing. Go to my website, theresastehly.com. I've got the polling places up there. Our city clerk is also going to be mailing out a little postcard. He said it's either going to be Friday or Saturday that you should have in your mail next week that's going to have your specific polling place. Because that's another issue we didn't get into, but someday I'm going to work to have specific, solid voting locations. So we're not playing chase the donkey. Is that the right game? We're not playing any kind of those, run around, chase the, what is that game?
Pin the tail on the dog.
Whatever, where you're just running around trying to find your voting place. It's been happening for years. We continually change places. Is my time up? No, okay. So anyway, I'm passionate about people being able to participate. I want your vote. I ask for your vote. But if you vote for whoever, get to the polling places and make it count. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, you also have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for hosting this, Brooke. I think it's really important. Deb, thank you for the Chamber's participation in this as well. Look, we're in tough times. This COVID deal is really a crisis. I wanted Nikki to be here tonight to be a part of the process, but my parents are over the age of 66, so they're choosing to self-quarantine. She couldn't be here. I wish and hope that we can get public safety and public health back to as normal as we can ever get it. It's not ever going to be normal. But what we have to do as we move forward here in Sioux Falls is we have to have budget integrity. The highways and streets part of our budget is 17%. The police is 8%, and fire is 6%. We have to be critical of funding outside of there, because if we're not, we could, not make Sioux Falls a safe and a strong place to live. And that's my number one priority, is making Sioux Falls as strong and safe as possible. And if we work together as a team, we can do this. I promise you, we can get through this pandemic, and we will. We've proven that already. And once we come out of it, we're going to be stronger than ever. But we're going to have a focus that is second to none. We're going to be focused on the budget. We're going to be focused on things that once we get sales tax revenue back, we're going to start focusing on things that families enjoy, like parks, like McKinnon Park, like the boulevards that, everyone loves. We're going to focus on making Sioux Falls strong and safe for the families that live here. I have the experience, I have the ability, and I have the temperament to immediately improve the city council. And I'll always fight for this city and the taxpayers, all of them, every single one of them, because that's what it is. It's important to do that. And I'll always be there for you. So if you ever need anything, please give me a call. If you have any questions on the election, please give us a call. We'll fight for your vote, because we know that the votes count, and we know that your vote, it matters. So check the city clerk's website. They're going to be mailing out the polling locations. Make certain that you do it the safe way. Wear a mask if you so choose, and make sure to social distance. Absentee ballots, if your absentee ballot is lost in the mail, you still show up to those polls, because they'll talk to the county, and they'll make certain that there's not dual voting, but they will make sure that your vote is counted. And then furthermore, if over the next couple of weeks you want to get to the election center, it's over on 220 West 6th Street. I got it written down, so that's great. So thank you very much for the forum tonight, and I'm very excited, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'd like to thank our at-large candidates not only for their contribution at today's forum, but also for your interest in serving our community. As I said before, it's sometimes a very thankless job and lots of more hours than you really anticipate. We want to wish all of you the best of luck with our upcoming election on June 2nd, and we encourage all citizens to get out and vote. Furthermore, it's the 100th anniversary for women's right to vote, so even more important to get out there and vote. And your vote matters, right? At the municipality level, at the school board level, you actually have an opportunity where votes matter and you have direct responsibility when it comes to our taxes. So thank you again for coming and allowing to answer these questions. In addition, we'd like to thank the City of Sioux Falls for allowing us to use Carnegie Town Hall as well as our great volunteers. And thank you for the audience in person and who are tuning in. Thank you again for understanding our forum change for tonight with retrospect to our community's health. With that said, have a great night and a great weekend. We have Memorial Day, and of course it is South Dakota, so it'll probably rain because that's what it's done for the last several years. So thank you again. Good night.
Thank you.